What's going on, Show Nation? It's Movie with Movie Gaming TV, and today I'm going to give you guys some pitching tips on how to become a better pitcher in MLB The Show 20. Now, everybody can kind of hit in MLB The Show. What really separates the good players from the great is being able to pitch well. Pitching is going to win you a ton of games. So what we're first going to do is get into the best settings for pitching, and then I'm going to give you some pitch sequences that I use to get batters out in MLB The Show, especially people online that I'm playing against. So first of all, if we go to game controls, or if we go to options, go to gameplay. Now, the first thing that you're going to want to take care of is you're going to want to put the pitching interface on pure analog. This is by far the best thing to use. It's the most accurate, and it's also, on top of it all, it's the most fun to use. If you've been using meter or pulse or classic or a different pitching interface in the past, analog might take you a small amount of time to pick up. You know, after a day, you'll be better. After 3 days, you'll be a lot better. After a week, you'll be a beast with it and never want to switch to anything else, in my opinion. Now, you want to keep the pitch feedback on. The pitching view is really kind of subjective. You could do a lot of different things. Outfield is a really good one to use. Also, I like to use strike zone to pitch from. It's a very, if you could prefer kind of calling it from the catcher's perspective, you're going to have really big icons to be able to spot pitches exactly where you want to use them. Another really good one that I like to use is pitcher offset. It might be my favorite. It's tough to say. I switch around to a lot of different pitching views. You got to use one that's most comfortable for you. Sometimes if I'm pitching in a slump, I'll switch my pitching view to something else. Personally, growing up, I was a pitcher when I played baseball. And so I kind of like pitching from behind the pitcher because I have more of that mentality. Maybe if you grew up as a catcher, you might like going from a catcher's perspective. That's going to help you stay creative when you're selecting pitches. So I personally will go with offset. The pitching ball marker, classic on or pitch trail on are definitely the ways to go here. If you go with classic on, we'll throw a pitch here. If you go with classic on, you guys, actually let me step off and throw a breaking pitch because the fastball doesn't have the arrows. But if we throw, for example, a slider here with Gagne, you guys can see those yellow arrows. The very furthest yellow arrow to the left is where the ball is going to go if you hit perfectly on the analog meter. So I wouldn't want to put the pitch here because that would be a ball. But if I wanted to dot the corner and I can hit it perfectly, you guys can see that it's going to go right there. Or you guys can go with game controls here. We'll go back to that. Oops. I don't know why I keep doing that, but we'll go to pitch trail on. And pitch trail on is basically, it's going to go, we'll select the slider again. It's going to go exactly where you put the ball. So that's, if you hit it perfectly on your meter, it's going to go exactly where you put the ball for the most part. So finding a view that you like is something that's going to be very important. Now, let me explain something about analog pitching. There's a lot of big misconceptions. So for example, let's pick a fastball here. And you guys can see it's going to move the hoop to the right of the plate if I move it to the right. It's going to move it to the left if I move it to the left. And you would think you'd have to bring, let's say we moved it over to the left. You'd think you'd have to bring your analog straight down and then push it over to the left. That might be backwards on your guys' screen. Let me think about this. So you think you would push it straight down and then like over to the left like that, but you really don't have to do that. You actually can take it on the controller and move it at an angle down and move it up to an angle that direction. So you really don't have to. So for example, I'm going to try to do this reverse because of how my camera's set up. You can move it down and then up. Does that make sense? So you can take the right stick, move it down and then up to the side. You don't have to pull it straight down and straight over. You can move it to the side and then move it up to the side, or move it to the side, move it up to the side. That's really going to help your accuracy. So that's one major tip that you're going to want to implement in your game when you're pitching with analog. So let's talk a little bit here, and Gagne is a pretty good example of what pitchers use. So actually, a good tip also is you can see the yellow line doesn't go that far down, and I love pitching out of the stretch because of that. I find that the faster that they pitch the ball, like either out of the stretch or if they have like a quicker motion, it's so much easier to hit the line and hit the hoop than it is if they have like a really elongated motion. For example, like Walter Johnson really winds up forever, and I gotta wait for that thing to go all the way down before I push up, and it takes a long time. So I really like pitching from the stretch. Like Andrew Miller has one of my favorite pitching motions to use. So keep that in mind as well when you're selecting pitchers. Always look, also it can be tempting to look at the pitcher when you're throwing, but always look up at the meter. That's really important to do. You need to keep your eyes on the analog meter itself when you're pitching. And finally, let's talk about some different pitch combos that you can use online. Now the fastball, everything is going to be set up off your fastball. That's why like pitch speeds are so important when you're pitching, and the higher pitch speeds, it really helps pitching a lot because you can pitch off the fastball because it just kind of makes the opponent, you know, they can be behind on the fastball and that can set everything up. I like to throw a lot of fastballs high and inside. I think that's a really good spot because that'll jam them a lot and it makes them have to commit to it fast. So they really have got to be looking for it. One way I like to combo the fastball, right? So I like to throw it high and inside, but I also like to throw it I didn't execute it there, but I also like to throw it like up here. So they might take this pitch up, but they also might swing at it and miss it. You want to make sure that you get it inside, but that can also really set up high and inside. So they're laying off that high and inside up. You hit them there, you get them to chase up here or lay off up here, and then you're going to get that same flight of the ball and just hit like a dot right on the corner. That's either going to strike them out or it's going to make them swing and miss. The other thing too, sliders. I like to throw sliders outside on the corner here. I like to dot a slider on that part of it. I don't throw too many sliders in this direction. You know, I don't throw too many front door sliders. Might catch too much of the plate. I want this slider to be right on the outside corner, or I want it to go outside. You can use and then another good combo is you're hitting them with sliders, even like a slider for a ball on the outside, right? And then you want to come back, you know, maybe they're laying off that pitch outside, they're not chasing it. Just go back with that low and outside fastball. It looks like a slider the whole way, but then it just stays true and it hits the corner for strike 3. You want to pitch, you want to keep changing eye levels and locations and pitches. So what I mean by that is also you don't want to just like start off every at bat with I throw a high and instead of fastball. You don't want to get into like too much of a pattern. You want to be changing eye levels. You want to be changing locations, using all of the corners of the plate, and pay attention to the feedback too. You know, if they're like really early or they're really late, pay attention to that and use that to your advantage. So you want to be throwing all over the place with all kinds of different pitches. A good thing to check too is to see if your opponent just has absolutely no plate discipline early on in the game. You know, you might want to throw some pitches way outside of the zone, and if they're just going to swing at every single pitch outside of the zone and not have any plate discipline, that's going to be really easy for you to pitch. If you play against someone that's good, that has good plate discipline, you're not going to be able to do that. They're going to take a bunch of walks on you, and that's going to be a huge problem. So ideally, the best way, after you've established that they have some sort of a semblance of plate discipline, it's just trying to hit the corners as much as you can, trying to throw dots, as we like to say in the community, and in baseball in general, you know, throwing pitches that are, you know, right on the edge of the strike zone and staying out of the middle as much as possible. If you stay in the middle, you're going to get crushed. You need to live on the outside and use pitches that are, you know, I like to throw my curveballs a little bit below the zone. I never throw like a curveball high. I'm gonna throw it like right at the bottom of the strike zone, or I'm going to throw it way below the strike zone so it looks like it's going to hit the strike zone, but it doesn't. That's a kind of a good thing for pitching as well, or for hitting as well. If you see a curveball like above your belt, it's going to be in the zone. Below your belt, it's going to hit into the dirt. Those are some good ways to set up those pitches. Let me grab a different pitcher here. Probably the best pitches in the game. I think Maddox probably has them. Oswald, I know, does have a sinker. All right. So sinkers is a really good pitch. Like, this is probably the best pitch in the game, is a sinker in on the hands. It's just very difficult to do anything with that. And then you also have the slider that you can combo low and away. It's going to be a lot of throwing hard stuff inside and then throwing a lot of sliders away. That's really your best bet for pitching. Looking for pitchers that have sinkers and looking for pitchers that have sliders. Changeups, a pretty dang good pitch as well. It's really hard to hit. It's just hard to drive. I don't throw like a ton of curveballs either. I'm trying to think of some other good. The other good pitch to use is a cutter. It can be really effective. But the thing is, you really want to make sure that you have a pitcher that has, like, I'm not sure what this Rivera is going to have if he has like some other pitches. He's got the cutter and the four seam and the slider. The cutter can be really, really effective though. You can put it like inside and it looks like it's going to be a fastball that's going to be a ball inside. So you can use the cutter right here. If we see, absolutely crushed it. You got to be careful because the cutter is not very fast. And I missed my spot in the middle. You can throw a cutter low and away, get him to roll over to a right-handed hitter. You can throw a cutter up and away, same kind of thing, get him to roll over. Let's see if we can switch to a left-handed batter. I'm trying to think. Maybe we'll put in like Alex Gordon or something. A left-handed batter, you can throw a cutter in on their hands. It's going to look like a fastball inside, and it's going to jam them like crazy. Another spot you can throw a cutter is like low and away. It's going to look like it's outside and then cut back in for a strike. That's a good way about using cutters. So I hope this gave you some, just, kind of an introductory tutorial into pitching. I hope this helped you guys out. If it did, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button. I'm going to have a ton of tutorial type of stuff on my channel as well as gameplays. You guys can always go, if you guys want to see me play the game live, twitch.tv/MovieGamingTV. Follow me on Twitter @MovieGamingTV as well. I'm always tweeting about MLB The Show. If you guys have questions, I know I can't cover everything in every single video. So if you guys have questions, leave them down in the comments below. Feel free, if you're watching the video and you see somebody's question on there that I have missed, to offer some insight on that as well. Offer your insight to help people get better, because I like seeing when people do that. I really like seeing that, just somebody else offering some advice. We all can learn and get better at the game. And I love pitching, man. I'm a pitcher by trade. I love hitting in MLB The Show, but I do love pitching as well. I love the chess match of pitching. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.